Looks like Mike Alaimo is on the line with us. Make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Michigan Chamber of Commerce, one of many organizations that have opposed these climate energy bills that did pass the Senate yesterday along party lines. Mike is on the line. Good morning. Mike, is it Alaimo?
It's Alaimo.
Alaimo, there we go. Well, I apologize for that. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Happy to be here.
We talked a bit about these bills earlier. They passed the Energy and Environment Committee on Wednesday, and they passed the full Senate yesterday along party lines. 3 different bills. I thought it was pretty drastic, I'd say, that the chamber joined forces with groups like the Manufacturers Association, the Utilities, Small Business Association of Michigan, Grand Rapids Chamber, and others, formed a group that was so serious it said, we need to stand up and speak out against these bills. So I don't know, how would you explain to people your main opposition to this package of bills that passed?
Yeah, I think you actually summed it up pretty well. We think this is a pretty extreme approach to energy policy. And one of the things that we've been saying from the very beginning is that we need a robust, deliberative, and bipartisan stakeholder process to have this discussion, because energy policy is a shared vision for everybody in this state. Everybody needs it, and everybody needs it at an affordable and reliable rate. And so, we haven't had that. There hasn't been that process put into place. In fact, as you pointed out, they voted these bills at a specially scheduled committee. We didn't see the agenda until 30 minutes before committee was held. We didn't see the draft legislation they ultimately voted out until committee actually started. And then they voted out a different version of those bills yesterday on the floor. They subbed in a new version of the bill on the floor. We have seen improvements with the bills as they move forward. But again, process really matters. It's so important that stakeholders aren't left behind when we're having these discussions, because again, it's too important to get wrong. And so we're really concerned that we're going to see these bills made into law, and that will lead to higher prices for every energy customer in the state.
I saw the committee hearings that were held last month too, and you had some of the utility companies, the Michigan Chamber, the Manufacturers Association, I thought, come up with some very serious concerns, well-spoken, that seemed to be ignored. And the people that spoke out in favor of these bills were a little less serious. The young folks that were kind of environmental extremists, or, still wet behind the ears, if you will, and not realizing the importance of job creation and keeping costs affordable for businesses and reliable energy. I don't know, you surprised that the Democrat majority just moved forward and plowed through, ignoring your concerns, essentially?
It's one of those things. I think we should be surprised. I think we should have higher expectations of this legislature. And you're right. I think there are folks out there pushing an agenda about a clean energy future that don't that really, they're not necessarily credible voices in the room, because they're not the folks that have to create the power or have to, pay their employees or have to keep the lights on. And so those are the folks we need to be listening to, right? Those are the folks that they're really important voices that need to be heard. And, the Chamber supports a clean energy transition. We support the integrated resource process in which the utilities submit their plan to the Michigan Public Service Commission. And all of that is designed to bake in a more sustainable approach to the grid and the power generation. But this is not that. This is, an artificial timeline and kind of bootstrap approach to more renewable energy, and we just don't know what that means for the grid. And that's one of the things we've been saying. We just don't know what it costs. We just don't know if we can, meet these goals. We don't think they're achievable. So we have huge problems, and there's a lot more work to do.
What are some of the goals then in this bill that that concern you and other parties that are opposed to this?
Sure. So we're talking about now what was passed yesterday would mandate 60% of our electricity coming from renewable sources by 2035, and that really just means wind and solar.
Yeah.
And we're 11 to 15% right now. So you're talking about thousands of megawatts of wind and solar that will need to be built out over the next few years. And again, we believe there should be more build out of renewable energy, and that transition should take place over time. But doing so in such a fast and furious way means one, we're going to be building things and we just simply don't know necessarily where and when we need it. It's just about making renewable energy, more and more a part of the grid. Secondly, we're going to be prematurely retiring other power plants and assets that we have. And when you do that, you go through what's called a securitization process. And what that means is you just pay down that asset long term. And those payments come from the primarily commercial and industrial ratepayers. So business communities will ultimately bear this burden.
So by forcing coal plants to close early before their life limit here, it's going to drive up cost for their customers and also put reliability in jeopardy. Right now, we get 27% of our power in Michigan is from coal. If that's phased out, and as you said, 6% comes from wind, in 7 years? I mean, and there's not a path. They can't even get turbine farms approved in a lot of townships and counties around Michigan. So goals without a path, but they're now mandated by, if it passes the House and the governor signs it, it will be mandated by law then for utility companies.
Yeah, 2 points on that. I mean, again, I think you're summing it up well. It's not just coal; it's natural gas, right? Which is we've really enjoyed a boom in our natural gas production and utilization that has led to America's energy independence. We're walking away from that in a big way. Lawmakers are trying to kind of put together language that will say, well, you can have natural gas, but if it's already built, and then future natural gas will have to have carbon capture technology on it, which works but is expensive. And for us, again, we're just saying let the market decide what technologies are most effective, and again, let's do this in a more pragmatic way. Yes, let's build out more renewable, but let's not do that. Let's not cut off our nose to spite our face, in other words.
Well, for residential users, big concern about costs and, again, reliability. You want that heat there when it gets cold. You want the lights to go on. You want your computer to work. And that's being threatened here, I think, with these policies. What about businesses in Michigan and those that are being recruited to come here? What message does this send, this package of bills, to businesses?
I think it makes them feel uncertain about Michigan's energy future. I think we have seen businesses state very clearly that one of the many considerations that they use when they're looking at locating in this state is energy cost. And for some businesses, they're disproportionately affected based on the type of business that they're in by energy costs. And so we did a lot of work. Dating back to dating back 10 years to try to decouple those costs and try to, really move towards a model of if you use it, you need to pay for it type of approach to our energy policy. This, again, walks away from that by saying, well, equity and environmental justice now need to be considerations of how the Michigan Public Service Commission approves rates. And so we know that will lead to increased costs as well. So, that is concerning. For folks that want to bring more manufacturing jobs into the state, they should be concerned. And so, the Chamber has set up the Great Lakes Growth Coalition. It's a coalition of a number of organizations, as you pointed out, that are saying, look, we need to think this through, and we need a better process in place. So I encourage folks to go to greatlakesgrowth.com to check that out. There's information on the energy policy, but also other policy issues that the legislature is deliberating over right now.
All right, so past the Senate, goes to the House. Do you think your organization will have any success in slowing it down there? Or if it passes, would you have any influence on the governor at this point?
I do think that we will be able to continue to be an effective voice. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I think we can probably slow it down a little bit, but we also know that the legislature has generally been saying, it hasn't been said officially, but we do believe that they're going to be adjourning early for the year, and so we know that we only have a handful of legislative session days left. So the timeline's very tight, but we're already having conversations with House members right now, giving them a heads up. Hey, this is coming your way. We have concerns. Let's work on this. So I do think that we'll continue to play an effective role in this discussion.
All right, and just not the details, but the general points here that are the concern, as you said, that would mandate that the state go 60% renewable energy by 2035. That's 12 years from now. It would knock out coal plants early, no more coal energy, which is 27% of our energy. Natural gas would be in question, and then it would create more costs by, I guess, that, like they say, they're going to figure out what to charge people for their energy based on income, and some people might take on a bigger burden than others. Pretty summing up, I think, the main concerns there.
Yes, I think you're summing it up very well,
So,
and I think that's exactly the concerns we have.
All right, well, what's it, Great Lakes Growth, right? Great Lakes Growth?
GreatLakesGrowth.com. Yeah,
All right.
please check it out, and you can sign up as well so that you get communications from us going forward if folks are interested.
Yep, and I don't know if it does any good, but if you're concerned, you can always contact your lawmaker and let them know there is a voice out here that says slow it down and get some science behind this. All right, Mike Alaimo from the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, thanks for the time today.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Yep, so as I said, when they formed that group, I was surprised. I mean, everybody has to get along in Lansing, and the Michigan Chamber, the Great Lakes Chamber, the utilities, they all came forward and said, whoa, emergency. We need to fight this, and they formed Great Lakes Growth. So, again, as they said, they're goals without a real path. Like you could say, my goal is to be a professional basketball player by 2035.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
But you've got a goal.
Yeah.
It's important to have goals.
But you do want to be able to map it out realistically, too. Yeah.
I would think that would make sense.
Yeah. But you've got to have science and goals and reality there.